afternoon, good evening. I don't know what time you'll be watching this. This is Random Crafty X. I'm Barb, and this is the next in the series of card making basics. I've got a couple of things laid out because I want to jump right in today. What we're going to do is make this card. Okay, and I've got the measurements set out here. These measurements will also be in the description below. All right, the cards will end up kind of looking like this. All right, with a printed background, something in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to work with adding some sentiments. We're going to turn them into happy birthday cards. Okay, so we're going to set this aside. The objective today is to work with what's referred to as digital patterned paper. Now, there are a couple of ways to go about getting digital patterned paper. You can go to Pinterest and search for printed pattern paper digital, okay? And you'll get a bunch of options. What I was looking for when I went over there was free, because I have gotten free digital pattern paper before. Unfortunately, most of the time when I was searching this time, I was getting Amazon, which is not what I was looking for. But digital pattern paper ends up looking like this. It's just, I printed this on 65 pound. I printed this on copy paper and made some cards to practice using copy paper, and they came out just fine. Okay, my printer wants to put a white border around it, and I'll show you when we're doing some cutting how I dealt with that. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Again, that information will be in the description. This is the website I ended up on. Now, I can't vouch for this website. I don't know anything about them. I was able to download the free sets. They come down in zipped files, and you have to unzip them and put them where you want them. The advantage of doing digital paper is twofold as far as I'm concerned. First of all, when you buy a paper pad someplace, there's a likelihood you're going to get some paper that you don't like, and you have to figure out what you're going to do with that besides store it, which I have done and continue to do. The other thing about digital paper is if you get a piece that you really like, for example, I really like these little flowers. I can just keep printing these and printing these and printing these for as long as I want, and I don't worry about them running out. The other disadvantage when it comes to printing digital paper is on the screen this looked a lot more yellow, and once I got it printed out, it's kind of tannish, and maybe that's kind of an ochre. I don't know. It doesn't look that yellow to me. But you have to kind of make peace between your screen and your printer, so that you end up with the colors that you're looking for. Some printers you can go in and adjust the colors. When you download digital paper, the ability to adjust it is going to depend on whether you've got a JPEG, which is a picture, or whether you've got a PDF, which is not something you can often do anything with. So one of the things to keep in mind, but I think there's some big advantages to using it. The other reason that I bring this up is that I'm trying early on here to introduce as many things as I can that you can do without buying a lot of equipment. And so the only thing that you really need when you're using digital paper is obviously the computer, and then you need a printer, and you need a cutting board or cutting tool of some type. Okay? And there are people, as I've mentioned, who are doing this with scissors. I'm not, because I'm not that good at cutting straight lines with scissors, but if you are, go for it. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in here, and let's start with a basic Okay, we're gonna make this one first. All right, so let me get the cutting board out. I've got several things cut ahead of time. Okay, I'm going to start with this piece. This is the center piece, and that's the piece here that is 3 inches. That is 3 inches by 4 inches. Okay, so this is referred to as directional paper, meaning it makes a difference. If I want this to be my up and down here, like it is on the front, okay, I have to cut this part at the 3-inch. All right, so what I've been doing is lining up the print part with the 3. Okay, and then while I've got it here in a big piece, I flip it over, and then on my cutting board, I know with some of these you can line up the wire. I have to keep an eye on the little place the blade fits in. Okay. Alright, we do the same thing when I cut the 4. I'm going into detail on the cutting because I don't know how many of the people watching this have not really done any card making before, and this was always the stuff that used to really get me. Like, they're whipping through cutting all this stuff and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Okay, alright, so I cut that off. Alright, so there's 1. I'm hoping to make 4 cards, so there's 2. Those are going to fall on the floor, and I don't want to have to pick them up. Okay, go ahead and cut that off while I'm here, and then I set that aside because, as you know, we don't throw anything away. Alright, and then this, I've got the clean edge, so there's 4. I'm going to set that strip aside. And what did I tell you before? You have to cut it by 3. Okay? It doesn't hurt anything. We'll find something to do with that. That's not a math thing. That's a not paying attention thing. Okay, and cut this at 4. Got my fingers crossed. My microphone has been cutting out, so if you hit a spot in the video where it sounds like I'm not saying, like you've missed something, maybe you have. If that cuts out. Okay, so these are going to go on the mats. So just set these over here. Alright, now let me find my... Okay, we're going to use this pinkish color. Alright, and these need to be 4 by 5, which, 4 by 5 and a quarter. Oh, I'm glad I looked at that. Okay, 4 by 5 and a quarter, and that's this piece right here. Okay, so we're going to turn it this way and cut it at the 5 and a quarter. That way we get 2 strips. That way we're going to get 4 backings. Okay, line that up. Set that aside. Line this up at the 4. Line this up at the 4. Line this up at the 4. scraps over at the side. Sometimes I have a little bucket thing there that I put them in, but I always keep all of my scraps until I get done. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I think we're done with this, so we can set that aside. I'm going to keep this out because, as it's obvious, sometimes I kind of forget what I'm doing. All right, let's do some gluing. I'm going to pull in one of my mats. I found out yesterday that trying to glue using this doesn't always work real well. So I'm going to do these first. A couple of things about working when you're making multiple cards. I usually I do all of the pieces parts at the same time. Okay, that's good. And I've mentioned, I think, before, there are all kinds of tools out there you can get a hold of to help you like line things up like this. I've seen people use a variety of things. I just eyeball it. And it's also the reason that I use wet glue. I prefer Barely Arts. Okay, see that? For that reason right there. That's referred to as wiggle room. And just trying to get the sides to where that's two. Let's see, Barely Arts glue. What else did I want to mention? The other part of this is when you get into making multiple cards. I mean, you can go through and make your card backings and have a whole bunch of them that are sitting there waiting for you to put them together. If you have a limited amount of time to do card making, you can do part of it and then like put it in some kind of an envelope or something to have them ready. All right. Let's do the small strips, the small pieces here. There are two things you could do with this mat that's around this. I decided to cut it at a quarter extra, so 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. You could cut it by an eighth. I looked at that. I mean, I'm not big on good on the math, but it didn't look to me like I would have saved a lot of like it's not like if I'd cut it in an eighth I would have got an extra one or anything like that. So for this particular pattern, since the piece around the outside is kind of plain and is mostly just there, for the color, I didn't feel like, I needed this to be smaller. But if you had a pattern around the outside that you really wanted to draw attention to, you could make this narrower. Also, on this particular piece of pattern paper, I'm pretty sure those aren't black stems there. I'm pretty sure those are a really, really, really dark green. And I can never find, I can't find good dark green cardstock. If I do, it's in a mixed pack of the 65-pound cardstock, and I get like 2 sheets and it's gone before you know it. Okay, so we have these. We're going to do 2 of them. We're going to set these over here, and we're going to put our little strips with them so I remember. Alright, we're going to put this, we're going to center this, and this is one of those times when I may use the grid lines. Maybe not. together quite as much as I had hoped I would. But in that particular pack, I didn't really find a match like I wanted. Okay, so we have those. All right, this one, we're going to work on it so that it looks like this. So the easiest way, you can do it the other way, but so there's two things about this. One, use this to line it up so that they end up straight. And you can put this strip across anywhere you want. Okay, and I do it with the idea that I want it to be even with the outside black edge. If you were short on strips, you could line it up with the 4 here. If that, I've been in situations where that would have made a difference. And as you can see, my scissors have walked away, which they have a tendency to do. Okay. All right. So that's one. And the other thing you can do that is, let's say you had a really short piece of black. You can put, so part of it sticks at here and part of it's here, and it doesn't have to stretch all the way across. Can you see that? So it could be right here and doesn't have it stretch all the way across, and when you put this on top of it, you don't know. All right. Okay. All right. And I'm going to have to make card bases because I don't have card bases made. All right. Now we're going to move on to the pieces that go on so that we know it's happy birthday. All right. This is a 2-inch square. This is 1 3/4 inches. Put that on there. Okay. Now, there are people who can cut circles with scissors. That's not me. So I have a machine. It's called a Silhouette, and it's like a Cricut. And if you do any kind of craft shopping, you know what that is. And I set it up so that I cut those automatically because it's one of the things I do for my mass card making. All right. So we're going to do 2 of those. So I'm going to set these over here. But if you don't have something like that, this is a site that and a person that I really recommend, Sassy LLC, and she does what are called, let me find one of the ones that's the first, so you get a really good view of, there it is. Okay. This is what she calls an emergency card layout, and she does this so that you make this. This is actually A2 size on the picture, so if you're trying to get something to line up, you can just lay it on top of here and work with it. She has lots of instructions. She has YouTube videos that explain how she does all this. Notice it says video tutorial. Each of her emergency card layouts is set up with the card, how to make one, okay? And then coming with it are a series of circles, okay? And in this particular one, they were also without the circle around it. I think she does that so that you could, if you have a die cutter, which is another machine, you could like draw a square around this and cut it as a square instead of a circle if that's what you wanted. This is one of her early ones. It says January 2023. As time has gone on, she also does them in long strips, the different sentiments. She refers to herself as Sassy because as you read through these, you'll know happy birthday, I'll go get the fire extinguisher, in banana years, your bread. So she does that with them, so that they're a little catchy. And then the other part of that is that she talks about having the card bases all made up, having even the dark circle in place, and then having the sentiments set aside. And then if it's 11 o'clock at night and you suddenly remember that your one of your work colleagues has a birthday tomorrow, the adult equivalent of Mom, I need cookies in the morning. If you have children, the you can like grab the card and then grab one of the sentiments and stick it on, and you've got your card done. Okay. All right. So how do you cut these out? There are. I will tell you. I mean it. There are people who can do that with scissors. That's not me. This is a paper punch. All right. So the advantage of a paper punch, and I'll see if I can do this. I am not very good with this because I have a tremor. Okay, so the disadvantage of the paper punch is, so you put it in upside down, you look through the hole and line up the lines, and then you squeeze. Okay? All right, I would do that one a little differently, and I'll show you how I did that one. Okay. And you squeeze. Okay? And you can go through and cut all those out. Right, so then what do you do about the dark one, the dark circle? You just take your cardstock. This is a 2-inch paper punch. I like these new ones because they're flat, they're easier to store. These are very functional. I don't know that you see these out very often. Again, you just line it up so that you've got a circle all the way around. And voila. Okay? And you can go through and cut stacks of those. What I did with this one with the present was I actually did cut it with scissors and then cut around the edge of the package, and I don't know if I've got, let me see if I've got that one here in my little stack of cards, and of course not, because I really want to show you that, so I don't have it where I can find it, and that's okay. So what I did, what that ended up with was the little present area sticks out on the side. Okay? It just depends. There it is, of course. Okay. So notice how I cut around here, and notice how that's a little jagged there because, like I said, I don't do well with scissors. And then you can cut this, and then you just kind of cut that out and leave it, and it kind of gives it a little bit of an offset. Okay, so let's stick this on here. All right. I think I like this one better. Stick this on here. All right. And then I try to kind of center it on the piece that goes across. I donate all my cards to Operation Gratitude, and there is a link to that page in the description below. Over throughout the series, I'm going to direct you to different places that you can donate cards. Those of us who are really, really into card making, I mean, we like to make more cards than what we have people to give them to. And so finding some place to donate them is really important. If you have a nursing home in your area, maybe your church would like to have cards to send out. There are all kinds of organizations. They all have certain specifications that you have to keep in mind. But I know that the cards that we make and send out to be used for other purposes um, make people happy. Okay, this has this like gray and white in the background. And if you were really industrious, you could probably go in and color those. I'm not. All right, so I have those. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to slide back here and grab some. No, I'm going to use this. The cardstock I've got up there is really heavy. We did this. We did this at the very first time. Remember? Okay, so the card is 4 by 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to cut this at 5 1/2, and that will give me card bases. This is the 110-pound index. Okay. And another piece at 5 1/2. That will give me 4 out of the 110-pound index. Okay. Set my cutting blade on this side. And then this. The only thing you have to worry about here is making sure that you're not putting this on upside down and backwards. Don't ask me how I know that. All right, there's 1, 2. You could also do this with a top fold. With this particular pattern, if you had non-directional paper, so that it didn't make any difference which direction it was, this you wouldn't want your flowers going sideways. You could tilt this card this way, put this way, turn your happy birthday around, and have a slightly different design. And that's one of the things you start to figure out, as you move along in your card making, is how you can do different little things. Okay. All right. So in the next couple of videos, if I can figure out how to get my die cutting machine into the screen. See, that didn't clip quite the way I wanted it to. Oh, I can still maybe get my scissors in there without making a mess. Or, Barbara, you could just leave it alone. Yeah, if I can figure out how to get my die cutting machine in under here, I'd like to have kind of introduce that as an option. Again, die cutting machines cost money. There are a variety of different brands out there. I have a Sizzix Sidekick. I don't know if they even make those anymore, but it is one of the up things that people go to. I'll probably try to do some things with a stamping, which is another thing. It costs a little money because you have to buy the stamps. Okay, all right, so looky there. We've got 4 cards that we made using this pattern and digital paper and digital sentiments that we could have cut out with either our punches or our scissors, and we're good to go. All right, thank you very much for being here. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and give this a thumbs up. It helps me with the YouTube channel. I will put as much of the information from this as I can in the description below, and I hope you come back and check out, see how it's going.